Hey everyone, it is Natalie from Being Intentionally Creative. I'm just going to sigh here for a moment. That last video I did, man, it was a long and intensive video. And if you stuck around to see the whole thing, thank you very much for watching it, because that was a sit down, get comfortable kind of video for sure. For sure. When I was loading it on to my computer and saw how many parts there were to it, my camcorder sort of splits things up and I'm going, wow, this is going to be a long video. This one is not going to be that long, I promise you, because I wanted a really short, sweet kind of video. What are we going to be doing? Well, as you can see here, I have some skulls on my desk that I've made recently. I have this very cool heart that I made with mixed mold, and then I used some dilutions crystals and melted them onto it, which I think looks really, really cool. Like how that came out. Looks even better in the sun. I have this heart, which may be used in an upcoming project. And you're probably thinking, so what are you doing with all these? Oh, and I have my bones over here as well. They are going to be in an upcoming project that I'm going to be working on. And I can tell you one thing for sure, that is going to be another long video because it's going to be in a pretty intense project. So stay tuned for that. This, okay, like I said, I'm going to make this short and sweet and to the point. I picked this up at Michael's. It's an Ashland Halloween piece. And I am going to make a mold out of this because again, I want to use it in my upcoming one. Well, I say upcoming project. I don't know exactly when it's going to be started and videotaped. It'll be one of those that it's probably not going to happen in the next couple of weeks because I still have to lay some things out. However, it's going to be upcoming. Anyway, I saw this at Michael's and it's pretty much the right size for part of the project that I want to do. And I am going to make a silicone mold of this so that I can make this any way I want it to be. Now, I didn't realize, but there's glitter on this, but I don't care. That's fine. I've done pieces before in silicone that have glitter on them. So, I'm not in camera. Sorry about that, guys. Here we are. In camera now? There we go. Anyway, so I am going to make a mold out of this guy, and then I can make him whatever colors I want him to be. So this is our project today, and we've got another one upcoming that is going to be, again, me making a silicone mold of a skull head, one that I've been wanting to do since I got the skull, and it's about time I got done. And we'll do that, but I got to get the box made for the skull. And I'll tell you how I put it together. I'm not going to bore you with the details on doing it in front of you. I can just fill you in on how I make the box, but I will show you a little trick I've learned when it comes to pouring the silicone. Anyway, our next project, let's make a mold. Okay, I just wanted to show you again the one piece specifically I want to make a mold out of, and some other pieces I'm going to use. I have this square little plastic container. There's a set of 3 that Alumilite came out with that you could use to make silicone pieces out of. So I'm going to use the smallest of the 3. And I know a little earlier in my video you weren't able to see. So it was an Ashland Halloween piece that I bought. And this is the little guy here. And this is the main reason we're doing the silicone mold. However, when I place him inside, there's still a bit of room around him to get some other pieces in. What I've decided to do is do 4 roses, 2 big, 2 small, as well as this that goes on the back of pictures and whatnot to hang on the wall. I have made some bigger dragonflies for one of my clients. They have mentioned to me that they're wanting these pieces to hang on a wall, and this is a little bit bigger than what I want for the back of them. So I thought, well, what if I made a silicone mold, and then when I poured my resin, if I took the resin out soon enough, I might be able to make it a little bit smaller. So we're going to make one of these and see what I can do. The other thing is, if I make it, then I can color it whatever color I want, as opposed to it always having to be silver. So I can kind of blend it into the back. But I think the thing I like the best about making a piece like this is, am I going to be able to make it a little bit smaller for certain pieces? But that will require me getting it out of the resin sooner. I'm going to play around with that. But I have space for it in the container I'm going to make it. The other thing you'll notice is, and I know a lot of people usually use glue to stick their pieces down. I'm using two-sided tape, and what I'm going to do at the end of this is, because this is a strong two-sided tape, is I'm going to use my Goo Be Gone to hopefully get the residue out. I want this done rather quickly, so I'm not prepared to wait for my hot glue gun to warm up, and I'm not willing to use regular glue, so I'm taking the easier way out, and I'm just going to use these strips, and I've kind of placed them half decently. And the other thing you'll notice is I'm wearing gloves. I have wiped these down with alcohol because I don't want my fingerprints on them, and I don't want to be touching them with my fingers and getting my fingerprints on them when I put them in here. So what we're going to do is very carefully is take these strips of tape off, because they're two-sided, obviously. And hopefully I can do this. I'll have to get my nails in there to do this, but get them started, take it out. Come on. Sometimes this stuff is the challenges of the simple things in life, right? I want to make sure I'm in camera. All right. And this one. I'm going to put the skull down first. Wow, normally this stuff is a lot easier to get up than the challenges I'm having right now with it. And of course, being that's in a box is making it even more challenging for me. There we go. Out. Out with you. Okay, so we'll plant this guy in here first. And I want to make sure he's away from the top and the bottom and the sides. Right, okay. And then we'll press him down firmly, and we'll do the shake test at the end of this. I'm going to take this piece and push my tape down because it's not sticking down there. And actually, you know what? I think we'll do the flowers next. Take the bigger ones. I apologize as I bring this closer to me. I need to be able to see that I'm getting these in the right spot, that they're not too close to each other. I think I'll put the other big one in. They say, no, that's too close to the end, that you should have about a 1/4 inch sort of around things. I don't know if you have to have them like that, but as long as you've got some space that things aren't running into each other, that's a good thing. Yeah, it's sticky stuff. Sticky, sticky stuff. So I think I'll put that one there. I think I'm going to put this down next. And I'm going to put it down. No, that's not the way I was going to do it, was it? It was going to be like this, I think, because it'd be more touching the tape. So I really have to get my hands in the way for this one. Okay, that's good. Just put it down, push it down. And then this in here. Yeah, we should be good there. So I'm just going to Yeah, that, okay, so as I'm working with that hook, I'm finding that it's bouncing back and forth a little bit. And I'm not sure how well that's going to work out for me. But, you know, I'm going to leave it because I'm going to do a little bit of a trick. And I know I'm going to be doing this on the next piece I do as well. Okay, and I'll show you in a moment. So 2 things I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to my computer. I'm going to figure out how much of the silicone I'm going to need to make this. And I've always found that, you know, my numbers aren't always bang on. And even they say about, you know, taking the pieces you have into consideration, and that hasn't always worked out well for me. So I'm just going to measure this, and I think this is about a 4 by 4. And then I'm going to take whatever, you know, depth I kind of need for this guy, for the skeleton. And we'll sort of base it on that. And I don't want to have too much more than what I need, but at the same time, I want to make darn sure that we've got enough. So let me go measure that. Let me mix some of this up, and I'm going to show you my little trick. I have some of this measured out. My calculator, I used the one on the Alumilite site. And based on, and not taking into consideration that I've got things in this, it's at about 143 mils to fill it as far as I want it to be filled. So what I've done is I'm hopefully only going to have to do this twice. There have been times I've had to do it more than that, and that drives me absolutely crazy. But I've done, like, measured out 25 of each right now. We'll do that. We'll get things sort of going, and then I'll hopefully ballpark it correctly. So I only have to do one more batch of it. The reason I've only done part of it is last year I had done a mold with a pumpkin, and I was using the Let's Resin. I thought I had that pumpkin down in the bottom of the container, solid. Well, lo and behold, I mixed up my product, and my piece was not stuck to the bottom, and it floated up. Oh my gosh. The mold I got, it was done, it came out okay, but, you know, the mold, the pumpkin inside was on an angle. Oh, it was such a fiasco. Like a huge fiasco. What I decided to do was, and it's easier to do it with the Alumilite because the Alumilite product will set very quickly. So this tip will work with it. With the Let's Resin product, it's going to take longer for your silicone to set. And that's why I'm using this to start, because I want this to set up quickly. So let's get these mixed. And then we are going to pour in first, and then hopefully we're just, basically what I'm wanting to do with this is just get it set around the bottom. As much as I've got these down on 2-sided tape, which is great, I want to have this set quickly so that I don't really have to run the risk of potentially having the pieces, you know, float to the top because I covered them right up and, you know, they weren't attached properly and so on and so forth. So after that little fiasco with my pumpkin in the Let's Resin, I decided, well, I would like to use the Alumilite just to get things sort of stuck in place. And then what we would do is we could use, if I needed to, the Let's Resin on top of that. It's a silicone. I don't have a problem doing that. I'm not sure if, you know, others may think that's the wrong thing to do, that you use one and then another. But I do things differently. You found that out. So let's get this in and pour it in. And then I'll have a good sense too once I do this. And it starts to set up. And it like this stuff sets up quickly. And that's one of the reasons I like it so much versus the other brands. I think the Let's Resin, you've got to let it sit for 24 hours. I think. I'm not 100% sure. I'd have to look that up again. And for this particular project, because I want this to be a somewhat short video, and I'd also like to make the pieces once it's set up, I'm going to be able to do that quicker with the Alumilite than I could with the Let's Resin. So that's another thing. And I know I think they say to let them sit for 24 hours. Don't tell anyone. I normally don't. Unless, I mean, and more so because I'm doing a video, and that's why. So with this product, make sure that it goes completely red. And like resin, you're going to want to scrape the sides and the bottom to make sure it gets mixed up correctly. And I've had times where, depending on the cup I've been using, I've had to sort of mix up a little bit more when I've gotten to the bottom because I haven't had it mixed completely. I've not had a problem with this. I'm trying to think. I think that's resin. I had an issue with it once, but I think it was more my error because of how I was doing things than their product. I actually think I'd use masking tape to try and hold things down, and yeah, you don't want to use masking tape to hold your things down. I know that, you know, glue would be my best bet, but again, I am sort of taking some shortcuts with this. So always follow manufacturer's recommendations when you're doing stuff like this. Okay, so you know, too, because it sets so quickly, you have a limited period of time to mix this and pour it. So I'm going to start pouring this in now, and I'm going to pour it in and around. Let's get this like this, in and around sort of all the pieces. This is more or less just, let's get these set in place. Oops. And let's not really worry about getting everything covered, because as I say, I just want to get this in and get them set, and then I can make up more, right? Because I know it's going to set in and around. Oh, and when you're dealing with air holes, always best to make sure they go through, and I need to make sure that that's filled up. That's another thing, although it doesn't really matter. And then just kind of go slowly over, you know, your intricate pieces like the roses, because you want to make sure you get a really good set mold. Just looking to make sure I'm in. So hopefully me pouring with my right hand is helpful to you. So I feel pretty confident nothing's going to rise, but that's part of the reason why I'm only doing a limited amount initially, is to, you know, sort of let this stuff set. If you're getting air bubbles, you can always puncture them out with a toothpick or something sharp. So we'll just keep going over this guy and see. I've got my rose, it's got a little hole that's air bubble that came up, so I'm just going to carefully get this going. And if the air bubbles are sort of where there isn't anything, I don't get too concerned by that. Okay, let's get this rest of this out. So I'm going to have to get in your way now, because I don't like wasting this stuff. It's like resin, I don't want to waste this stuff. And silicone will definitely stick to silicone. If you've worked with it before, you know silicone is the only thing pretty much that will stick to silicone. I'd love to find other things that might stick to it, but yeah. Okay, so there we go. So I'm just going to puncture these. If I can find my Q-tips, they're around here somewhere. I cleaned up my work area just a little bit, and of course now trying to find things. Yeah, that's going to be fun. And I had another one somewhere, and maybe it might help if I do this a little bit. And get those out. They should pop on their own. Truly they should. I'm just trying to help them out a little bit. So we'll just let that sort of sit for a little bit. So that 50 mils covered quite a bit. As far as, you know, it's covered the piece that I want for the dragonflies. And I've decided to do approximately another 75 to 80 mils of product. I am not concerned about putting this on top once I get it mixed up, because that has already started to set. And I think it'll be fine. And, you know, it's a matter of then just letting it sit and completely setting up. And then we will be able to make some of our pieces. Now, because of, I'm kind of thinking I might use the rose pieces, if you will, in one of my upcoming videos for my Halloween piece. And I'm wanting to make pieces that sort of fall into the, you know, theme of Halloween and color-wise. So blacks, like dark purples, a bit of glitter in there, sort of the darker side of colors. And I have some new pieces coming from Temu to help with that piece that I'm wanting to make, and I will share those with you when I get them. But for right now, it's kind of, and I still have a lot of organizing to go through. I sort of see visions in my head for how I want to do this piece, but I really do need to sit down and figure out the layers, and I don't have a lot of space in what I'm building this within for resin, so I'm going to have to really think about, you know, how many layers do I want? What do I want in those layers? What do I want on the side of it? Yeah, so it's going to be, I think it's going to be a cool piece when it's done. But you're just going to have to keep watching me if you want to see what's going on with that one. Okay, yeah, most of this out. Good enough. You're always going to have leftovers, stuff behind. So let's get this mixed up. And then I'll get you to cross your fingers, because I can't right now that I have got enough of the product, and we're not going to have to mix any more up, because that would make me very, very happy. Might have been better if I put the red in first versus the white, but that's okay. So again, my normal question, what are you getting up to from a creative standpoint? Because we know that everything we do is creative in one way or another. So I'd love to know what you're doing. And I'd be, you know, I'm hoping that you got to watch my last video, which I know was very long. It was a very long video, but I hope you got to the end of it. And if you skipped through parts of it, I get that. I totally get that, because it took a lot longer than I thought it was going to take. But I wasn't surprised when I saw how long the video was. I was not surprised at all. Okay, I better get this poured before it decides, hey, let's set up. And again, if I notice some white, then I'll mix it up a bit more. So as you can see, it's not sinking into this, it's just pouring over top. And I stirred it a little too hard, so here's to these bubbles releasing themselves before they get trapped somewhere I don't want them to be. And we'll just go around the edge of Mr. Skullhead here. Yeah, it's always I sometimes question when they give me, okay, you need this much to fill this in, and I sometimes wonder, are you sure? Sometimes they're bang on, and other times maybe not so much, but so let's hopefully, I got enough to cover him up. That's what I'm hoping for. I'm going to be really careful around his head because of his eye sockets, because I want it to flow in there. I don't want it to, you know, leave me with air holes. Come on, in you go. Yeah, there you go. I have to it's like, can you get this going, please? We're running out of time here. It's always one of those things, come on, cover it up, cover it up. Yeah, so I think I've got just enough here because I am not making any more. You ever get like that? You go, I'm done. I'm just not giving you any more of what you want. And this is one of those cases where I'm just not giving you any more. And hopefully, I might take my lighter to this just to help with the air bubbles because I don't want any. Because that's another thing you got to think about. If you have air bubbles and your piece isn't covered up, the potential is that it could be a hole for your resin to get through, or whatever product you're putting in, and you don't want that. And I think I've done it before where I've, you know, really quickly and very briefly gone over it just high enough that I can bust the air bubbles so that there isn't an issue. Or you be patient and you just let them pop on their own. Or you use this stick or a pin. I did have a pin and I think I put it back. So let me get my pin out. Maybe that's probably the better idea, right? Just to help burst those bubbles. And if you get it on the right angle, you can sometimes see them popping themselves. And that's what I'm kind of, again, you know, if you think about the flowers, it probably wouldn't matter with the flowers if there were some air bubbles, because it'll look like raindrops. That's what we're going for. We're just going to say it's going to look like raindrops. All right, so let's just turn it that way. And here's hoping, I'm really hoping that the eye sockets on Mr. Skull are okay. That's my bigger, I don't want air bubbles. Because like I said, I wouldn't want to have to try and cover it. I've done that before where I've had to put a really thin layer over something, and that's not a fun task because nothing will stick to it. And how do you sort of get it back in where you need to finicky. All right, so we're not going to use our torch again. It's probably not a recommended thing, so forget I even said it. Follow manufacturer's directions. There you go. Okay. So I'm not adding any more. I think we've got enough in there. And what we will do, I am trying to think. Does it tell me how long I have to let this sit for? Pour slowly, let cure for a minimum of 30 minutes. Once firm and tack free, flex mold away from the original to demold. You are now ready to cast multiple replicas of your original. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk away from this and leave this probably for an hour. And then we will come back and we will take it out of this, and then we'll very carefully take our pieces out, and fingers crossed there are no issues with it. And I guess as I'm sitting here thinking, and that I have no issue with the double-sided tape I put down. I don't think I'm going to, because I have used it before on another piece and it tends to stick to the plastic. This has been sitting long enough. We can now take it out of the mold. I have found with these, like there's really no pliability to these, which, you know, is and is not helpful. So what I've done before is I've used one of these palette knives to lift up a corner like that. And then I have to be really careful that I don't, you know, damage the silicone. But it is helpful for releasing it. And I guess I have mold release. I guess I could have put that in it before I did this. But it's amazing how you have something put on a shelf somewhere and then you don't realize you have it. And then you go, oh yeah, maybe that would have been a good idea. But, so we're coming out relatively easily. My tape is still stuck to the bottom and I'll work on cleaning that up later. And I'm kind of glad it's not stuck to the mold itself, although it is a little sticky there, but this is the upside as such, because this is the side we're going to be using to pour stuff. So let's see how we did. Now this piece is already starting to come out on its own. What I find I like to do when I have pieces like this that have the silicone that's going over the back of it, I like to get rid of that before I pull it out of the mold. Now it kind of pulled itself out, so we're going to first, I'm going to do this, is just use it, and I don't know what it's called, but it's got a little V in there and it's very sharp, and you can just, of course, getting my hand right in the way, so let me try and do it like this. You just lift up the silicone and you're just going to go around the edges. Is it a perfect cleanup job? Not always, but I do like that I have it, because I don't want to get the resin up underneath that and then have it, you know, yeah, I don't like it. So, and I apologize for my hands being in the way. I know that's not helpful. Let me grab and see if I can. I'm trying to move my hand out of the way so you can see this. So all I am is just grabbing it and pulling it back. There, that'll be a better view. Trying not to cut where it's thick. Just getting this sort of straggler of silicone off of there. That piece at the bottom will do once this is out. Let's very carefully pull it out. Of course, why I'm worrying about it, I really don't need to, because the silicone is pretty sturdy stuff. Getting his head out. Okay, so this is going to be quite the intricate little mold, as you can tell. So he's got like some real intricacies to him, right? So I think what we'll probably do first off is I'm probably going to use the 10-minute polyurethane to cast this to see how it looks. I just want to clean up some more of this resin, the silicone that's around the side of it, those little flappy parts. Because as I say, so we've got this flap here. I'm going to work on getting rid of that. And it's a little it can be a little tedious to do it, but I think it's worth it in the long run to get rid of it. All right, I got a little piece. Sometimes you can just pull it off with your fingers, but yeah, so pretty intricate, eh? And I've got a little piece of sparkle in here. So I'll use my tape to clean that up. I'm not sure how this piece is going to turn out. It's one of those, yeah, you kind of wing it and you hope for the best and see what happens. So let's see if we can, okay, I have to clean up around this one for sure. And again, I know my hands are getting in the way. That's just what happens. But you get the general gist, as I was able to show you over here. So we'll just do this. That's thicker, so it's easier for me to show you what I'm doing. And when you pull on it, I mean, don't yank on it, just pull on it enough to get it back. And sometimes you can just go along like this and pull it off. And yeah, so just be gentle when you're using this to clean it up, because you really don't want to mess up your mold by cutting in and down too deep, because you want to keep the integrity of the mold itself. So let's see what happens if we try and pull this out. Again, I kind of like I like the silicone because it's very pliable. Get that out. So this will be an interesting piece to pour because we have the little slits down here on the side, but it's very thin and fine up here. So I think for something like that, I would want to use the polyurethane, or I'd have to be really careful if I use 2-part epoxy that I get it down in the sides and then in and under here. Again, you know, if this doesn't work, it doesn't work. It was just something I wanted to try and do so I could make my own hangers for things. So we have rows here, 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 and here. So let's get this little one out first. And the silicone got underneath it, so I'm going to get my X-Acto knife for that one. Might have to just ply it out like that. Just break the seal. And then we'll pull it out. Okay. Break the seal on that one. So that one I can probably clean up a little bit, get that out of the way. Like having all my tools handy all at once, especially when I'm doing these videos. I need to, for me it's just easier, then I'm not having to interrupt things for you. All right, on the big ones, and I'm really hoping that these came out really well, but again, we're not gonna know until we actually pour, and we'll see how they come out. So these might be another. And if I were doing 2-part epoxy on these, I'd be really careful. Actually, I would do anything, because you're going to have a lot of little intricacies. I mean, look at how intricate that is. So you're going to want to make sure, I'm just trying to get some, you're probably tired of that. You're going to want to make sure you get these lined up pretty decently when you're pouring your resin. And that's got some around it too. All right. And do any of you make your own molds, or do you pretty much buy? I normally like to buy, but every once in a while I have something that I know I'm not going to find somewhere else, because it's unique, and you know, and I want unique stuff. But sometimes I will admit it is easier just to buy a mold as opposed to getting finicky with some. I have a pot here I want to make a mold of, and I'm thinking, oh man, it's going to be so thick when I get done with it, because I've made pots before, and when you're doing it yourself and you don't have a machine that's cutting it out for you, it gets really, oh, they get so thick. Whereas if they're doing it on a machine, like like something that cuts it out for you and does it the right thickness, and you save yourself a lot of silicone, but they're not, like, this is pretty deep. And when you're making it on your own, one thing I will say about the Let's Resin I really like, it's really pliable. This Alumilite's not as pliable as what the Let's Resin is, so I have to admit I do like the Let's Resin for that, because it's a pliable mold once you've cast it, which I love, and which I'm hoping, because I'm going to be using a little bit of the Alumilite as I just start the mold to make sure that skull is in place before I pour the Let's Resin over top of it. And I mean, I could do, you know what, I could do a really thin coat of the Let's Resin. It's going to take me longer though to cast it, because I'm going to have to let it sit longer for it to set up. So there is our mold. While I was sort of waiting for this to set up, let me get all these little pieces out of the way. I went looking to see, you know, sort of what colors could I do my skeleton. See, as I'm trying to think, yeah, I'm trying to do too many things at once. Let me clean up this little mess I got going on here, and then we'll talk about, yeah, see, silicone doesn't like to stick too much, does it? It's like, pick it up. All right. Okay. I went and I was looking at colors I had and what would I want to do, because I'm really curious about the skeleton. That's, you know, that's what this project was really all about. And I pulled out some colors that I think we're going to work with, and I think they'll work really well again with the polyurethane because it sets so fast and it's a pure white. And I kind of want to get a bit of a ghostly look to it. So I pulled out what I use for the angels, the face on the angel, and I was thinking I could use that for the skull's head anyways, and maybe for the rib cage. And then I was trying to get a sense of, well, what do you want to do with the rest of it? I have a couple of colors that I pulled out from Eye Candy Pigments, and you know how much I like them. So as much as this looks black, it's actually a dark brown. I have a gray that again looks black. I pulled this out because I thought this bronze, it's got a really nice sheen to it. I mean, this thing sparkles. So I thought that would be kind of cool. And I also pulled out two of the Let's Resin glitter powders, silver gray and blush, because I kind of wanted to have a little bit of a, you know, sparkle effect going on. So I think what I'm going to do, and I kind of want to do the roses the same, similar way. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause this again. I'm going to work on putting my colors in. I'll measure out my polyurethane because I'm going to be guessing it. I'm going to be guessing at this. I mean, I have no idea how much this guy's going to need to make them. I'm going to say 20 anyway. I'm guessing. And then the roses, I don't suspect they're going to take much, but I will see about kind of making them interesting colors as well. So, yeah, let me do that, and I'll tell you what I've put where. And then when I'm ready to pour the polyurethane, I'll bring you back. I decided to bring you back a little bit early for a very interesting reason, and maybe something you've thought of before. I have been working on my Christmas trees with the mold that I got from Temu, and one of the things I thought that would be kind of cool would be to mix different types of mica powder, and I shouldn't say different types, different colors of mica powders together in one of these small little containers, so that I could get sort of a combination of colors. So normally what I was doing before was I do, you know, one color and I'd brush it on, and then I do my next color. But you get a bit of a cool technique, or a bit of a cool look when you sort of blend the colors together. So you could, you know, put one color in and then dab it around if you want, and then add the next one and sort of build on it that way. Or what you could do is just put the colors you wanted together so that it blends out more evenly or more nicely, I guess. So what I've been using is I've got this metal spoon that I've had for a long time, and I got it with one of the kits. So all I've been doing is going in and taking a bit of my mica powder, and depending on the mica powder, okay, I'm going to forewarn you right now, and the static you got going on, especially with some of the eye candy, I mean, it just goes where it wants. So don't even try, and I don't even know how to stop that from, unless I were to take alcohol and wipe it down somehow. I don't know how to alleviate that kind of static. So this bronze and the gold I tried using the other day did the exact same thing. I mean, it just went. It went where it wanted to go, and when you hit the side of the, I mean, I'm wearing this stuff. Yeah, so that will happen. And what I'm going to do is, I don't really want to waste this, so I'm just going to brush it onto this. And we'll deal with that in a moment. I'll wipe this off. And I'm going to add a bit of the gray and the brown. Because I kind of, you know, again, we're going for that eerie look. I like the idea of having some sparkle to it, while at the same time, you know, being eerie. Just wipe that. And this stuff probably isn't going to fly around near as badly as what my, yeah, see that's just going to sit there. So there's something in that that is causing it to jump all over the place. And it did it. I've got the gold. I've got the 10 karat yellow gold, or it's 10 karat something gold of eye candy and that stuff. And their glimmer ghost stuff just flies. So some will sit, and it's got to be obviously the weight of it and what they're putting into it. So we'll put a little bit of that in. I put all of it in. There you go. Now, for the roses, what I've done, I'm just going to do the 2 big ones. I'm not going to do the small ones. I just took some of the blush and the silver gray, and I brushed some of the sparkle in because I really want you to be able to see that when it comes out. I tell you, I go out into the sunlight right now and I would just shine. Small things amuse me, just get used to that. Anyway, okay, so what we're going to do is we're just very carefully, because we know this stuff wants to, we're just going to sort of mix it up. All right, so we can get a bit of a blended color, if you will. So I'll just mix it up. I'm in camera here, and I don't know how well you see this. So I'm just mixing it up. It was just something I thought of, like, what if I were to mix it up and then I get, you know, sort of a blended color versus doing, you know, one shade of green here and then blending in another shade of green on top of it. If we just sort of blended them, it's like blending paint. That's sort of how I'm looking at it. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do one flower this way. I think these are going to look cool. I definitely want to get some that have purple in them. I do love my purple, and I just think it would look cool. Now, I'm probably not getting this everywhere, right? Because we know how intricate that shape was. I'm starting to itch a little bit. I'm getting this stuff all over me. Okay, so let's do this in here. I think the rest I'm just going to do around. I'm not even going to worry about the fact that his arms, I'm just going to get some of his arms with this as well. And we're just going to, yeah. So I thought it was an interesting idea, and I didn't want to, I thought, oh, if you're going to do it, show them what you're doing so they can decide, you know, is this something they want to do? If it's not, that's totally cool. You may already be doing it. Yeah. So I just thought it would be kind of cool. So we'll just get this guy all done up, and then we'll mix up the polyurethane. And we'll pour it. And see how this comes out. And I think I'm probably going to maybe miss some spots, which is okay, right? Because if the white comes through, or it comes through in different shades of, you know, sort of the coloring with a little bit of it looking gray, that's okay too, right? Because if you think about it, skeletons aren't meant to, you know, look really good. So I think this is going to look pretty funky. All right. Yeah, I definitely got this stuff all over me. Now I'm trying to think. I think maybe what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a little bit of, I'm going to take a little bit of the blush. And then if we can mix a little bit of that in with this black and brown and copper. Okay, I don't know, again, I don't know how well you can see that. And then we're going to just get that in here. So I can get maybe a grayish. I do have lighter gray, so I mean, if I wanted to, I could do lighter gray. for sure. And I've got the silver by Eye Candy. It is gorgeous. And powerful silver for sure. All right. So I do have a bit of this left over. I may find another mold that I can use it on. We'll just close these up because I don't want to dump anything anywhere. Better to be safe. I'm then going to measure out my polyurethane, and again, I have no idea how much I'm going to need. So yeah, it's always hard when you're making new pieces to sort of get an idea of how much you're going to need. I don't need to clean this up in front of you, so we'll just put that off to the side. So I'm going to quickly measure out, ballpark this. You know what? I'm going to do 40 mils. If I have some left over, then I'll see about doing my little thing here. And I've measured out 20 mils of each for A and B to make my 40 mils. I'm going to use another one of these so I can pour it in and hopefully do it slow enough and not make a mess. And then hopefully it'll fill in the skeleton, and the 2 roses with nothing left over. Wouldn't that be cool? Yes, it would be. It would be very cool. And I'm really hoping that this video is much shorter than my last one. Although, you know, you start going through and you make these things and it's, you know, yeah, I only want to spend 5 minutes doing this and it ends up taking you longer. And I sometimes feel bad that I'm cutting some things out that you're not seeing me do, but at the same time I'm trying to, you know, be aware of your time. And I guess either you can skip through things, which is totally cool, or you're willing to sit and watch, you know, from start to finish, I guess, depending on what your day's like. All right, let's stir you up. I'm trying to debate whether or not, when I run out of this polyurethane, whether or not to buy the Let's Resin so I can try it out. I like getting from Michael's because I get a discount. Having said that, I really would like to try the Let's Resin and see how it is from a polyurethane point of view. And I guess one of the things I get a little concerned about with the Alumilite is that normally when I buy it, part B is already starting to yellow, and that doesn't really float my boat a whole lot. So I'm wondering if it would be worthwhile just to buy the Let's Resin, because I do use quite a bit of the polyurethane. Should have been paying attention to my camera again, and I wasn't. Okay, so let's bring this into sight and pour it very carefully. I hate when it does that too. When it slides down to the bottom. All right. Oh, sugar plum fairies. I'm just gonna have to let this go. And I made obviously too much, and it's getting hot. I'm going to very carefully move this to the side. Oh, sugar plum fairies. See? When you start getting... Yeah, I don't have anything to... Yeah, I don't know how well this is going to do, and my polyurethane is getting very hot now. Yeah, it's going to start to set. No, I have blown this one big time. So that comes from the not being prepared. So I've probably lost a lot of polyurethane in that. I didn't have anything handy. So yeah, be very, very, very aware of your time. This was very much my own fault. My camera wasn't plugged in. It should have been. And yeah, so there you have it. I will laugh at my own mistakes. Please don't make the same mistakes I make. Yeah, Anyway, it happens, right? Every once in a while things go in the wrong direction. So I don't expect this is going to work out. I'm really disappointed that I've wasted that much resin. And yeah. So having said that, I'll get frustrated with myself off camera, and we will come back in about 15 minutes and we'll take these out of the mold. I have managed to clean up. I have managed to calm down. That just went so far south. Oh my gosh. Okay. I have cleaned the edges up on this, what, you know, may very well be a wasted piece of polyurethane. I'm going to see if I can't use it in something somehow. I haven't got a clue right now, but I did clean it up because I thought, well, at least do that. Make yourself feel a little bit better. I was able to take time and write down what products I used today, so that's a good thing. What not to do. If you've learned nothing in this video, oh my gosh. Okay, if you're taping and you're doing videos of any kind, because this is what I'm going to do moving forward, and I might even have said this before, I don't care how much battery power I have, I'm plugging in my camcorder. Done with that kind of stuff. So if there's been a break in my video, it's because it shut down while I was trying to talk. The other thing is to try and eyeball and get a better perspective of how much resin I actually need, and to always have another piece or, you know, something I can pour it into. I'm usually very good at that, and today I was off my game. Let's see how things have turned out though. So let's turn this around. Let's find a positive in this and see how this has worked at the end of the day. Oh, thank you for bearing with me on the whole, part before this. So I'm not expecting this to turn out at all because it was starting to set. It was just, you know, it was too far gone. And I'm not thinking this is going to work, so I might have to come up with something else. So obviously, I think if I were going to do this, I really got to work with a 2-part epoxy, something that has more time that I can work it into where I need to. I have some other ideas on how I can potentially use this. I mean, this part of it came out okay. And I'm also wondering if I put it in the wrong way, if I should have set it down a different way. I don't know. I'll have to think about that a little bit more. So that didn't turn out, just to let you know. So that's going in the garbage. I'm really hoping that I managed to get the skeleton more than the roses, but it'd be nice if the roses came out. So let's see how that went. And I want to be careful taking it out because it's still a little soft. Get my fingers under there. Ooh, not bad. Not great, but not bad. Not bad. Well, here we go. Let's use this as our stand. I got to find the good in this, people. I really do. So, what do you think of that? I want to bring it up. No, I want to bring it up and see if it'll focus in on that. I'm not sure how well or if I'm too close. Sometimes I've noticed when I've been looking back at the videos that I'm too close, but that turned out kind of cool, eh? Because you get the sparkle. Hopefully you're seeing the sparkle. I'm not in the right light. You can see the sparkle on that a little bit. I'm hoping you're catching that. So there's one. So not bad. And considering it's going to be for a Halloween piece, if it's got pieces out of it, I mean, that's no big deal. No big deal at all. Okay. Next one out. So this next one was a combination of sort of the blush. Ooh, that's pretty. The blush and the gray, the black, and the bronze. So that came out pretty cool, eh? And again, hopefully, either the camera or through the light, you're able to see some sparkle. It's not really obvious on this one. You get to see more of it on this one, the black one. But even still, those look pretty, eh? So again, it's going to be a matter of you can't be rushed because you really want the resin to get where it is. But for what I want them for, that'll work. And I still have, at the very bottom of these, there's still some mica powder. So that tells you that my resin didn't get all the way down. And what I might do is, because I still got some of that left over, is to try this again off camera. I'm going to laugh at myself because it's the best medicine for me, and see if I can't make some more of those, because they'd actually make very pretty earrings. They'd make very pretty earrings. So that's why I kind of like the idea of mixing stuff together. So fingers crossed this came out, because again, I was rushed. My resin was running down the side of my container. I do not like when that happens, because once it starts running, it goes, and you don't have a lot of time. Again, I just want to be careful with my mold. I mean, I know it's just brand new, but I just don't want to, I want to be gentle with it. Okay. Ooh. So what do you think of that? Not too shabby. No, this is going to work for what I want it for. So I just put it on my hand like that, so you get a better view, but not too bad. Like, it's got a nice sparkle on it because of the copper, and you can see a little bit of the Let's resin glitter in there. I kind of like that we sort of go from one color on his arm to a totally different color. Again, it's Halloween. It is meant to be scary, if you will. So that turned out, I'm pleased with that. So after all of that, yes, I'm pleased. The other thing I thought what you could do with something this size is use it as a brooch. It wouldn't take much to put a pin on the back of that and make it into a brooch that someone could wear. You could wear it. It just depends on, I just want to put this, I don't know if this will help make it stand out better. But yeah, I think that turned out really cool. So just be prepared. Have your camera plugged in. Don't do what I did. And if you do, make sure you can laugh at yourself, because that'll make it all better at the end of the day, and just know what not to do next time. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this video and us working with silicone for the first time. I'm going to, because I still have some leftovers, I'm going to make some more of these. I don't know how many I want for what I want, and I like the idea of making that into a brooch. Please leave your comments below, and if you want to laugh at me, go ahead. I get it. Thank you for being a part of my YouTube channel, for subscribing, liking, and commenting. I appreciate all of it. It means the world to me. Have a great day with whatever creative endeavor you get up to, and please be able to laugh at yourself if things go sideways like they did with me, because you can ultimately, or hopefully, make it better the next time. Take care. Bye for now.